Okay, good morning. Reforming Milan is a didactic and research initiative promoted by our school and the Department of Urban Planning of the Municipality of Milan in the year 2013. Many design studios and courses have worked during a full academic year on projects dealing with the possibility of recovering neglected and decayed space and buildings, both public and private, with permanent or temporary functions. The initiative Reforming Milan, following a didactical, scientific and operative approach, reflects the interest of the school in proposing itself as a place for design elaborations and experimentations, especially focusing on the area of Milan through an open discussion with public actors and citizens. For the second edition of Reforming Milan in the current academic year, the selection of urban spaces was made into the west side of the city. The choice was based on the map made by the Department of Urban Planning of the municipality with all the neglected and decayed space and buildings of the city. The choice of the west side captures the scenario of the implementation of the Universal Exposition to be held in the second half of 2015 from May to October in Milan. Expo becomes an opportunity to read the transformation affecting the whole field of the West Milan as a result of the economic and functional activities that will combine the event. The topic of Expo, Fending the Planet, Energy for Life, remain concealed in guiding the content of the project and could be assumed as a guideline event for the post-Expo. The background of the initiative is the abandonment place. The abandoned place are the soils and the building discarded and underused. In 2 years of work, many areas have been registered. They are schools, swimming pool, socio-medical institution, hospitals, municipal markets, cinema, factories, warehouses, stores, houses, farms, whole office buildings, military barracks, in addition to numerous free areas of different size and consistency. Those are space and buildings led by men and then left to their slow decomposition. Sometimes they are even placed in nodal context, in a recognizable place with their own identity, or more often, they are confined to bleak, weak, and insignificant landscapes. The current research aims to the urgent care of the soil and of the many buildings discarded and neglected. As a considerable heritage, they inspire a reflection that simulates regeneration process of the physical spaces. At the same time, they help us to think about new roles to facilitate reorganization, reuse, and renewal processes. The abandoned space are situated in a suspended time. Their potentialities are investigated through interdisciplinary design explorations at the different scales inside this common thematic and problematical background. The place of abandonment became heritage and resource for reactivating regeneration processes. The thesis arguments. The topic of the abandonment, it isn't new for our field studies. The debate around abandonment has its disciplinary roots from the recovery space by Cagnardi, the abandoned territories by Stefano Boeri and Bernardo Secchi, to the urban rediscovered place of Sergio Crotti, or neglected areas, a first assessment of Vittorio Gregotti. The phenomenon and the debate about the neglected areas between 1918 and 1919 involved the whole Europe, although with great diversities of cases. The abandoned space defined today a different problem from the other one of the previous steps of this work. The research developed by Philip Oswald about the shrinking city highlighted the transition from growth, urbanization, and expansion processes that characterized the modern age to shrinkage phenomena. Today's tangible decrease is related to those studies that redefine a world map of the shrinking cities, trying to measure the most recent transformation that correspond to variation of principle, action, practice, and design strategies. The demographical, economical, and building decreasing, in addition to the significant contraction of the investment on social services offered by the public sector to citizenship, reflects a census of abandoned areas in the municipality of Milan that shows the changing of three important aspects. The first is the geography of the areas. We can see in the map a nuclear disposition. The areas are diffused in the urban fabrics, a set of spaces and buildings of different scales scattered in the urban landscape. The second one is the changing of the relationships between the abandoned site and the historical memory. More and more frequently, they are materials of a recent history. For example, the anonymous building in which we cannot recognize a documental or memorial value. Then we assume them as discarded material, wastes, and rubbles. We could remember David Lynch thinkings and the essays grouped in the Marc Auger book titled Ruins and Rubble, The Sense of Time. The third is the changing of the physical state of the involved artifacts. The prolonged state of abandonment generates situation of degradation, of social danger, of illicit settlements that cause problems of hygiene and public safety. If the disuse doesn't necessarily correspond to degradation, time acts on the buildings or on the areas, having a negative influence on the surrounding urban areas, amplifying the punctual decay to a broader physical and social context. The work's outlooks. Reforming Milan want to raise real problems that belong to the current debate, to the attention of students, teachers, and tutors working in the different courses, design studio, and workshop. Ilaria Valente and Ada Lucia De Cesari are the responsible of the initiative that is coordinated by Corinna Morandi and myself with the collaboration of Elena Fontanella, and in the edition of the previous academic year with the collaboration of Andrea Oldani, Giulia Setti, and Martina Sogni. On this common background, a group of professors, young researchers, and their students has undertaken to deal with the questions expressed by the society and the municipality. The results that the didactical project want to reach are proposals for the urban space of the sociality, of the hospitality, for the contemporary dwelling within the scenarios' different uses, like temporary housing, social housing, spaces for the shared life, for the welcome, but also spaces for cultural activities and open spaces for the urban agriculture, gardens, and vegetable gardens. Those are just some of the functions that the design proposal were giving shape to, confronting with the urban policies necessary for their implementation. We have developed a list of abandoned areas divided into dimensional typologies. Areas of urban reorganization, areas of urban transformation, areas of landscape redevelopment, built-up and open parcels, farmhouse to be redeveloped. Between those, a lot of areas, we found the 8 areas selected for the Miaw workshop, and we are going to speak in the last 10 minutes about those 8 areas. The first one is Via Brunetti environment, area of urban reorganization. It is an area enclosed within an irregular block composed of constructed fragments of small autonomous buildings, more or less recent, that were constructed as the sum of parts. They don't define any mutual relation. The large central void that is nowadays divided into a car storage, a car breaker, and interstitial residual areas seeks new internal and external connection. We can see the previous the slide with the municipality provision. Okay. The second area is a former parade ground, ex Piazza d'Armi. It is a large urban void, and its history was connected to military use. Now it is surrounded and encircled by the city and by its fabric of the decades of expansion. Today it is a precious voice whose fate is uncertain. We can see the municipality provisions with the connection of different sides, connection with open space, the west and the east, the north and the south of the area. The third one is San Cristoforo Rail Yard, area of urban transformation. It belongs to the area of landscape redevelopment that is sit alongside Naviglio Grande. The rail yard has a narrow and lengthened shape towards southwest. It is bordered on the north side by the active railway line Milano-Mortara, and on the south side by the line of water Naviglio Grande. Inside this wide area we can recognize the skeleton of the unfinished train station designed by Aldo Rossi and Gianni Braghieri. A recent project titled Domestication of an Eco Monster by Studio Albori has proposed the reuse of the unfinished structure. And the Studio Albori kindly helped us into the research of the materials of the area. The fourth is former Montello Barracks, Caserma Montello. It is an off-limits military area. It is expected to be placed back into the life of fabric of the city, introducing public function, social housing, and experimental dwellings. We can see the slide with the municipality provision and the maintenance of the buildings of military area. The fifth area is ex-Cinema Adriano, built up and open parcels. Through this work, we are looking also for the memory of punctual, smaller cases, for the history of small architecture, small portion that express a sense of belonging to the historical moment that made them. Here the architecture is present in the minor works, and the project can recognize their characters and reshape future conditions, revealing their identities. Former Borletti, built up and open parcels. It is the last part of the Borletti factory of Via Washington, waiting for a transformation. Borletti production was belonging to the field of precision engineering. The Liberty Building facing Piazza Ernerio is today abandoned, but we can still consider as a fragment of the memory of the industrial Milan of the 20th century. Agip gas station is a building that has remarkable architectural interest. It is placed at the corner between Viale Certosa and Viale Spinasse. Its project was developed by architect Mario Bacciocchi in 1951. It was one of the first architectural design for the gas station model, later standardized, of the Eni oil company. The building has an highly plastic image, and it appears as an unusual within the anonymous urban context. The last one is the Montello horse stables in San Siro. The stables were built starting from 1950 and were finished in 3 years. The San Siro football stadium was built later, and the site was, at that time, a wide expanse of lawns where horses were running and trained. It appears today as a place full of contradiction and contrasts, since after the Second World War, the horse racing has been replaced by football, and horse stables have been abandoned and looted. Thank you very much.